Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Cheryl Jennison DeProza, and today I am joined by Market Development Specialists Criss Niemann and Michael Moore, and these fine gentlemen are going to talk us through our newest wireless offering, the SLX-D Wireless Systems. But before we get into that, just a few items of housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing. Usually takes us about a week or so to get it edited. We want to make sure we get the audio and video just right for you, but once it is available, you will be able to find it at shure.com/webinars. Not only will this one be there, but also all of our other upcoming webinars for sign up and a lot of our past webinars for on-demand viewing. So that's shure.com/webinars. Second of all, as we go through the session, if you have any questions, please feel free to type those in the question pane. We will be answering questions at the end of the session. If you don't see the question pane and you're logged in through a browser, just look for a circle with a question mark on it and click on that. Or if you're using the actual GoToWebinar desktop app, just look for a dark gray toolbar with an orange box with a white arrow on it. Click on that orange box and you'll be able to get to the questions section. As I said, type in any questions that you have, but be patient. We'll get to them all at the end of the session. And then lastly, as you may be able to tell from our webcams, we are coming to you from our homes, not our usual controlled environments due to the current pandemic. So we just want to point that out and make sure that if we run into any audio, technical, or connectivity issues, just please be patient, bear with us. We will work through those as best as we can, but we want to make sure we get this info out to you in a timely manner. All right, that wraps up all my boring stuff. Let's get into the good stuff. Take it away, gentlemen.
Awesome. Thank you, Cheryl. I'm Criss Niemann, and I'm part of our market development group. And as Cheryl mentioned, I'm joined by Michael here. And we're going to both together kind of tackle the bits and pieces of SLXD. It's pretty exciting to kind of see where we are and where things are headed from our wireless perspective at Shure. And to kind of, I guess, start off here, remind everybody where we came from. SLXD has enjoyed a very long life. It hit the market at a good place when it came out. It had good features. It was cost effective. But you know, that was in 2004 when we released that. And as you can see here in this picture, SLX's siblings kind of grew up in the meantime. We've got products like GLX-D. That's a digital system. It sounds amazing. It does operate up in the 2.4 gigahertz area, so it's a little bit different chunk of spectrum. On the other side, we've got QLX-D, which was a great announcement for us again, that offers even higher end features than we've seen before. But SLX kind of was left hanging out there for a little while. So we have got SLXD caught up now, right? SLXD, D for digital. And when we were looking at, how do we improve SLX? What is it that we need to do? There were some things that were kind of a given, but also doing our market research and talking to end users, there were a handful of things that it just absolutely had to be. So right off the bat, it had to have reliable RF. I think most people come to expect that, whether it's any kind of a wireless system, certainly if it has Shure's name on it. We have a new digital modulation scheme. It has outstanding signal stability, so it hangs in there real well, even when you're at the far ends of where the transmission and receiver is able to work. And of course, because it's digital, it's highly spectrally efficient. This is super important these days. As probably a lot of folks know, we keep losing spectrum, especially in this UHF range. And the way to overcome that is to have a wireless system that is much more spectrally efficient, meaning it takes up less space to operate. Most folks want these things to have a range of around 300 feet line of sight. And of course, SLXD hits the mark there. And the transmitters have the ability to shift between high power and low power from an RF perspective. So again, from an RF standpoint, SLXD is just rock solid. But we couldn't stop there. Everybody wants it to sound great, obviously. This is super important for a wireless system. Boy, excellent audio quality here with crystal clear sound. What does that mean exactly? Why does that matter? Well, it is 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz wide frequency range. That's the limit of human hearing, basically. Some of us have a little less than that limit these days, but in this case, the microphones and transmitters are full frequency response. That means whether you're a singer, a speaker, a guitarist, a bassist, miking up all kinds of other instruments, I don't know, maybe even chimes, you can rest assured that SLX-D is going to be able to cover that frequency spectrum and have a great frequency response to hear clearly whatever it is that you're miking up. The transmitter gain range is it has a 120 dB dynamic range, so it's just nearly impossible to distort this thing. But there is a limiter in the receiver that kind of keeps things under control in the event that you start to hit those limits. But again, it's going to be nearly impossible to do. This thing has less than 0.02%. That's 0.02% total harmonic distortion. So that kind of plays to that clear, clean audio sound that we're looking for. Unencumbered, there's no character to it. It's just, you get out of it what you put in. So that's that clean and natural sound that we get. We knew it had to have some type of connectivity as well for larger system deployment. Really, frankly, this helps a lot with ease of deployment when you have more than one channel or two channels. With an Ethernet connection on the back of the receiver, we can perform things like group scans if all of our receivers are networked together on the same switch. We have multiple channels set up very, very quickly. That connector will also allow us to update the firmware. And by the way, you do firmware updates using Shure Update Utility. This is a free software that you can download from our website. But the other thing that network port allows you to do is have third-party control. So we know that some places want to interface this to their control system, like a Crestron or AMX or Q system, whatnot. You can do that and have third-party control here. But perhaps most importantly, and I've said it a little bit already, what we really wanted SLX-D to hit was that it had to be easy to use and simple to set up. So you're going to find things as we go along today in our presentation that are quite unique. For instance, there's a guided frequency setup built right in. It's a step-by-step wizard that allows you to walk through and get clean, clear frequencies up and operating. It's simple, it's straightforward. That display that you see there, it's a large LCD display screen, so it's easy to view. Push button knobs as well for easy navigation through multiple tips on the LCD. Another kind of unique feature to SLX-D is that you can save your system settings. So this happens quite a bit. Let's say you get 4 or 6 or 8 systems, however many you had, even if it's just one, you get one set up, and then somebody goes in and starts mucking with it and messes up your settings, and you maybe don't remember how you were there to begin with. Now you can save a known good configuration for simple recall and setup in case those accidental changes happen. Of course, as you probably come to expect from Shure these days, these things have auto frequency scan and IR sync for the transmitters. So again, allowing for quick and easy and setup. There's even a QR code built in to the LCD display. So if you're really stuck and you need to get to like a user guide, for instance, you can pull up the QR code right on the LCD display, and with your smartphone, capture that QR code and it sends you right to the user guide for more help. So with that, I would like to pass it over to my counterpart, Michael Moore, to talk about the bits and pieces of SLX-D.
Cool. Thanks, Chris, for the great overview of kind of where we were at, where we've come from, and where we're going. Again, with SLX-D, Shure tries to take the time that when you're doing any major change like this to such a long-standing product in the line that we listen to our customers and try to build in the feature set and the value set into each device based on what you need. So we're going to kick it off here, and over the next few minutes, just look at the hardware, some of the user interfaces, and talk about some of the accessories as well to SLX-D series. So starting off, so just like SLX analog, you can purchase this in a single channel receiver. As with Shure products in this line and moving up, a durable metal chassis. So whether you're a weekend touring warrior or you're a rental house or a permanent install, you've got a nice metal chassis to house your equipment in. With so many new features being added to SLX-D, we've increased the display, so it's a little bit easier to read, a little bit easier to navigate. And a part of folks that you might be familiar with QLXD or ULXD with that rotary push knob, quickly and easily navigate the menu. On the back side of the SLX-D receiver, we do have an XLR output. This is switchable between mic and line level through the front user interface of the receiver. And we also have a balanced 1/4-inch output. Now, this is line level. However, the cool thing is that you can either use an unbalanced tip sleeve or a balanced TRS cable with that jack. The Ethernet connector, as Chris had mentioned, how do we make a product that's quick and easy to set up that may not require additional software by adding this Ethernet jack through guided frequency setup that we will actually demonstrate in a little bit. We'll show you how quick and easy it is to set up several units simultaneously. Again, firmware updating through Shure's Update Utility app. And of course, as Chris had mentioned, third-party control access. So again, some of these in a corporate environment where you may need to do remote monitor or management of certain parameters of it, we give you this capability. 1/4-inch wave antennas are included. If you do need to use active antennas and extend that range of the unit, just remember you may need to add a bias T for the bias power for any type of active antenna. And as always, the rack mount kit is included. Now, what is new to SLX-D that was not a receiver option in the SLX line was the dual channel receiver. So for folks that may be doing 2 handhelds or wanting to do a body pack handheld combo across 2 discrete channels, this now gives you a quick, easy way that reduces some of that install time of having to take those rack mount kits and assemble them from 2 different boxes to make 1 RU. So this just drops right into the rack. Another great feature of this, because it is a dual, you've got built-in antenna combining. So in the past, if you did have 2 channels, you would need to purchase a UA221 antenna combiner type piece, or maybe an active combiner, in order to properly extend the antennas from the backs of the units to the front side or out into the room for proper reception. So this allows you to save a lot of money on accessories. As an example, if you had 10 channels of SLX-D4, you literally have a single UA844 Plus that'll get you those 10 channels, which are five dual receivers. So again, you wouldn't have to scale up on that. So with that, going through the hardware, the front and the back, we'd like to take a quick review of the receiver menu.
A review of the SLX-D4 receiver interface. Audio and RF metering are located on the left side of the display. Hours and minutes remaining on the SB903 battery is located in the bottom right-hand corner. The center display provides a few options. We currently have the group and channel prominently displayed. We can also select the specific frequency that the system is operating on or the name of the receiver. By pushing the knob inward, we enter the menu. Our first option is Frequency Setup. Guided Frequency Setup allows you to quickly and easily configure a new system out of the box, or when adding an additional channel in the same band. Group Scan, Channel Scan, and Manual Frequency Setup are also available. Customizing channel names can easily be done through the receiver interface. Shure has added an optimal range on the gain adjustment screen. This provides guidance when setting gain structure. The XLR output can be configured for a -12 microphone output level or a +18 line level output. The Help menu conveniently provides a QR code that takes you directly to the SLX-D Help page. Under the Advanced settings, the device lock allows you to lock menu and power button functionality. Network configuration allows you to modify the network addressing mode for either automatic or manual. Controller access. This tab allows third-party TCP/IP control of the receiver Transmitter presets allows you to consistently apply preferred settings as transmitters are resynced with the receiver channel. Device preset. After a system has been set up and coordinated, the device preset allows the end user to save all receiver settings. If the receiver settings are modified during an event, the user can simply restore settings back to the original setting. Factory reset restores all settings to factory default and reboots the receiver. Easily update transmitter firmware via the IR port. Find out about current firmware version, serial number, and band in the About tab. And this has been an SLX-D receiver review.
All right, moving on to the transmitter side of the portfolio. We'll start with the SLX-D body pack. You'll notice that the design of this body pack is a little different from existing QLXD and ULXD line. This is a new ergonomic design that contours to the body. It is made of a high-impact ABS housing. It also includes a brilliant OLED display with the IR sync window that's located on the side of the body pack. It is compatible with standard AA batteries or the new Shure SB903 rechargeable. There are two power settings, high and low. The high is 10 milliwatt and the low is 1 milliwatt. The SLX-D does have a TA4M or TQG style connector on the body pack, which makes it compatible with all traditional Shure lav and headset mics. You'll also notice a new housing design that includes the door that is a tether and central latch. This allows the back door to securely and smoothly integrate into the housing, it also allows you to remove the door for service purposes. Like the SLX-1D, the second transmitter that shares many of the same features is the SLX-D2.
Hey, Michael, you know what? Before we move on, maybe maybe you should share with everyone what microphone and what is your setup for this this webinar.
You know, Chris, I was going to ask you the same question because I am using the SLX-D1 body pack with the new Twinplex TH53 headset.
Awesome. So I can even use our high-end microphones with this system. That's awesome.
Absolutely. So for some folks that may not be a headset and body pack kind of person, we have the SLX-D2 handheld transmitter. This is a durable metal housing, and the capsules shown on the screen in front of you are the current available SKUs, which include the SM58, SM86 from the Beta series, the Beta 58, the Beta 87A, and the Beta 87C, and from the KSM series, the KSM8. Again, OLED display and an IR sync window that's conveniently located right below that display. It is also 1 and 10 milliwatt output and will also utilize AA's or SB903 rechargeable. And again, up to 8 hours of runtime. So this brings us to the question about the newest member of the rechargeable family from Shure, and that is the SB903 Lithium-ion rechargeable battery. Now, you'll notice the new ergonomic design of the SLX-1D body pack, which is one of the reasons that this is a different design than the SB900A that many folks may know. But this battery was also designed at a cost savings for folks that were looking to utilize the SLXD product line as well. So again, up to 8 hours of runtime with either the handheld or body pack. No memory effect since it is a lithium-ion battery. And hours and minutes are accurately displayed on both the receiver and the transmitter. You can also find charging cycles and health information of the battery. Now, for folks that are already using the rechargeables, you already understand the ROI of investing in rechargeable batteries, as well as the environmental impact over time. Now, how do we charge these batteries? We've got a couple options. The first option, which may be a great option for folks that have a single system, you may be touring or traveling with your unit. This is the SBC 10-903 as a single battery charger. It has a newly designed USB-C port, and with this comes the AC power supply, or if you need to charge this on the go or sitting in the bus, you can simply plug it into a powered USB port. So again, quick, easy, convenient, fits easily in a back for folks that are on the go. For folks that may be more permanent install, or your end users, you would prefer them not to remove batteries from the transmitters. We have the SBC 203 dual docking charger. Again, this is compatible, as you can see, with the body pack and handheld, and it will also charge the SB903 directly in the top of the charging bay. Now, with SBC 203, linking plates are included. However, you will need to have a power supply that is included with the SBC 203 per bay that is linked together. Again, it does share the USB-C port charging configuration like the individual charger as well. And another great feature that's in Shure's SBC docking charger line is the auto turn-off feature. So this allows folks that may want to use the power lock feature on transmitters, the end user to simply remove the transmitter from the docking station. It will turn itself on. And when it is returned to the docking station, it will automatically power off and charge the battery. It will then hold the transmitter in an off state until it is removed from the docking charger. One question that we do want to quickly cover that we get asked frequently is existing infrastructure. If I'm going from my analog SLX to my digital SLX-D, can I use my existing infrastructure? And the answer almost every time is yes. Remember that even though the RF transmissions differ from analog to digital, they're still utilizing the same UHF spectrum. So just verify that your existing infrastructure has the same frequency response as the SLX-D that you're dropping in, and it should not be an issue. So for most folks, you're simply just going to unrack your existing SLX or maybe even ULX series or another analog series mic, and just quickly and easily drop the SLX-D right into the rack space. And with that, we have given a quick overview of the hardware and the user interface. And we spoke about how quick and easy it is to set up 3 channels. And we've got just a quick guided frequency setup video to show you how quickly and easily we can do that.
One of Shure's newest features to be added to SLX-D is the guided frequency setup. In this demonstration, I have a single SLX-D4 receiver connected directly via an Ethernet cable to my SLX-D4 dual receiver in my rack. You will note that they are both G58 band. You will also notate in the top right corner your networking icon to confirm connectivity. By pushing on the knob, I have entered my menu, and my first selection is frequency setup. Our newest option, guided frequency setup. Since my receivers are brand new, I'm just going to go ahead and initialize my system. This will complete a group scan that will find the best group of channels to use with your system. Because you will be doing an RF scan, you are reminded to turn off all transmitters. Let's begin the scan. Our scan has identified 31 available frequencies for our 3 receivers. Now let's assign the receivers a new clean frequency. This reminds you that you will be overriding existing frequencies. We have now successfully coordinated and deployed frequencies for our 3 receivers. Our last step is to sync our transmitters to our receivers. And we have now successfully coordinated, deployed, and synced frequencies for our SLX-D system.
All right. It's pretty simple, exciting stuff there. And hopefully everyone can kind of get a picture that SLX-D can be at home in many different places. Certainly here's a handful of them that we've identified. When you consider education, some of the challenges that education has is, first of all, they don't have huge budgets necessarily, but they have a requirement maybe for 1 or 2 or more wireless systems per room. And then usually what happens is that each room needs that. And sometimes those rooms are in a building with multiple floors across a campus, etc. SLX-D plays very well in this space because, again, cost effective, spectrally efficient, so we can get more systems on the air in less spectrum. And then when you consider the rechargeability too, we're not throwing money away with batteries, being left on or drying out, and then somebody's got to go find batteries. Just put them in there. They sit on the charger, and they're always ready to use. So it plays well in education. for many of those same reasons, House of Worship is actually a real good place for SLXD. Regardless if SLXD is your main wireless system, maybe for small or mid-range sizes of House of Worship, it sounds great. Again, it's cost effective. I can get more channels operating, but it's also equally at home in much larger houses of worship where maybe the main auditorium or sanctuary is using a more premium system like Axient or ULXD. Oftentimes we find in these houses of worship that there are multiple other spaces around the auditorium that also need wireless systems, whether it's youth groups or whatnot. And so the advantage here is that we're not soaking up that precious spectrum with analog wireless. Now it's digital. So we're able to save more space. SLXD can be more efficient and leave more space for, those premium wireless systems that need to operate in the main auditorium. From a corporate perspective, kind of the key here really is that, again, corporations might have several rooms. They might need something very spectrally efficient, but they also may have control systems, and they may want to be able to control the different components of that wireless system. So because of that network port on the back of the receiver, we can interface our Crestron or AMX control system there. And gosh, community theater is a great place for it. Community theater's always struggling for every budget dollar, especially these days, obviously. But SLXD brings that higher professional audio quality, rechargeability, quick to set up, so even volunteers can now quickly come in and set up and work the wireless systems. But perhaps because it's come down, the technology's kind of come into this space, maybe you can even get more wireless systems on all those actors in community theater. You get the picture here, right? With hospitality and entertaining, hospitality, whether we're grabbing systems off the shelf and trying to go into breakout rooms, we can get them quickly set up and operating. Same is true with municipal government, even live sound. If you, Michael had mentioned, even if you're a weekend warrior and maybe this is your new premium guitar rig, wireless rig, or for bass or whatever, because it is really feature rich for that. Or maybe you're trying to fill out a backline where maybe you have more premium wireless in the front and you just need great sounding wireless that isn't quite as feature rich as our Axient, for instance. SLXD lives at home there as well. Rental companies, it's so often the case that they might just have single units in a nice case and they can just grab off the shelf, whether it's just one for a single presenter, or maybe they need to grab 4 or 5 for a gig that's happening over the weekend with some musicians. SLXD plays well in all of these different markets and is right at home. Since this is a global webinar and available to the globe, it's probably worth mentioning that SLXD works just about everywhere in the world. You'll notice there's different bands available, and of course, all of those are regulated and defined by local laws and legislation. So, for instance, here in the US, we can see we've got several bands available, and roughly each band is 44 megahertz wide. That's how much spectrum it can work in. You'll notice that some places around the world aren't quite as nice to operate wireless systems. For instance, in Japan, there's only 4 megahertz available there to operate in. But rest assured, SLXD is available just about to use just about everywhere in the world. But what does this really mean? Oftentimes we talk about how many channels can we get up and operating. That needs to be one of your first questions when you're considering coordinating or buying wireless. And I would also encourage you to think about how many channels of wireless you want to have in the future. Don't just think about today, but how many you want to have in the future. And that will help you decide what type of wireless system you're going to purchase. So with SLXD, for instance, in that 44 megahertz band, which is pretty typical for most of these bandwidths here, we can get 32 channels up and operating. In the US, sometimes we reference the size of a DTV channel so that you can kind of shrink things down and understand even a little bit better. Remember, we're operating in UHF here, which is the same place that over-the-air television operates, DTV. And so in the US and in other major markets too, a DTV station is defined by 6 megahertz. That's how much spectrum is required for a DTV station to operate. In that chunk of spectrum, we can get 10 channels of SLXD up and operating. In other parts of the globe, a DTV station is defined by 8 megahertz. It's a little different than here in the US. In that space, we can get 12 channels up and operating. In Japan, with just that little 4 megahertz chunk, we've been able to engineer a process that allows them to get 10 channels up and operating in that small little chunk of space. Even here in the US, we have a small sliver, 2 megahertz, 614 to 616 megahertz, in that small little slice that is license free and dedicated specifically to wireless microphones. In that chunk, we can get 4 channels up and operating. So it's very, very spectrally efficient. Now, we've spent some time talking about all the details, but you know, the Shure team and Shuzo put a video together for us, which was great. We're going to show you how fast you can get 30 channels of SLXD up and operating. So let me switch to the video here. Here we go.
Let's start group scan. Let's start deploy. Success.
So just like that, it's very simple and easy to get that up and running. Now, granted, you're going to need to grab your transmitter and go IR sync every transmitter to line it up with its given receiver. But we've really come a long way, and technology continues to influence how easy and smart our wireless systems are. And with that, we now can take any questions that might be out there.
Fantastic. We have quite a few, so let's dig in, gents. All right, first question. Why do you include quarter wave and not half wave antennas? Is it cost or function?
Yes, it's actually a little bit of both. The half wave antennas are required to remote. The second the antenna comes off to remote out into space, a half wave is required. Most of the time, a lot of these SLX-D receivers are in a space where the antennas are fixed right to the receiver. And that creates what's called a ground plane, and it works perfectly well.
All right. Next question. Are you using companders in your circuit?
That's another great question. Since this is digital now, there is no companding circuit at all.
Fantastic. Not needed. All right. Next question. Can configurations be recalled from a third-party control?
I may have to defer that one to Michael or Moo.
I was going to say, Moo, is that in the TCPI? We have our guest product manager, if he's still on the line.
Yes. Yes, this is a great question. So TPCI command can get all the settings from the system.
All right. Fantastic. Can you use the XLR and the quarter-inch outputs simultaneously?
Yes.
Moo, I believe that's a yes, correct? That is a transformer between
Correct.
the two?
You can use both at the same time.
Great. All right. Under the specification charts for this product, I found the data RF sensitivity negative 97 dBm at 10-5 BER. Can you explain the last part of that, the 10-5 BER? I don't know. I'm curious to know as well.
Moo.
Actually, I need to refer to our probably audio engineer for that question because it's very scientific. So yeah, I will make sure this question be answered.
All right, great. More to come. All right. Will there be any issues whatsoever if utilizing a UA844 plus SWB antenna power distro with the SLX-D along with QLXD or even BLX4R units?
No, there should not be any issue mixing and matching wireless off of any of the antenna distribution products that we sell.
Great.
As long as they're all in the same band, right? UHF meaning
yes,
it should be all shared in UHF because that's where SLXD lives. So,
yeah.
Great. Does the new LXD systems have any new intelligent switching to support having a body pack and a handheld transmitter on one channel?
Oh, simultaneously? No, it follows the same rules as anything. That one, there's no way to set a priority over one. So whoever is powered on first gets the frequency or the higher power.
So you need to shut one off before you shut the other one on. Shut the other one on? Turn the other one on.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. I know you guys kind of talked about this, but just to reiterate, what kind of batteries is the SLX-D set up for?
Batteries. It comes with. Are we still shipping with AA's?
Yeah. So we ship the AA in the package.
Great. All right.
And a further note there, by the way, the nice thing about these is that you can use AA's or the rechargeable battery lithium ion. And if you're familiar with, for instance, QLXD or ULXD or even Axient Digital, there could be a shim here. SLXD does not need that. It's ready to go out of the box either way.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And there is, I think, maybe to add to that question, you do have the ability to specify the battery type that is in the transmitter, just like in QLXD and ULXD, so that it knows how to gauge if it's a alkaline versus a lithium ion for the power metering.
Great. All right. Next question. Is the level of the TRS out adjustable?
It is not. It is a fixed output, but it is a differential line output. So if you're using a balanced versus an unbalanced cable, you will have a little bit of a difference in the output level just based on the type of connector, the type of plug that's terminated.
Okay. Next question. Will the old analog SLX still be available? I specify and utilize the point-to-point audio feature with the P9T in design systems. If not, is there another option available?
That's a great question. SLXD, yes, is discontinued with the launch of the SLXD and availability. And we certainly understand that there's a lot of folks that use point-to-point wireless. We don't forget that if you're using, for instance, like our QLXD or ULXD, the body packs transmitters have a couple of features that might make it work well for you as a point-to-point. The antenna can be replaced with a different antenna. You can put a pack. It was called an SBDC, which allows you to power the transmitter off of a wall wart. So there are some other options out there, and hopefully that answers that question in a short period anyway.
Yeah, and I would say to follow up on that question, reach out to our application support team. You can go to shure.com/contact to open up a ticket with them, and they can help talk you through any potential future solutions when SLX is finally out of the market and replaced by SLXD. And that's also a side note, a great place if you have any questions across any Shure products or general audio questions. Shure.com/contact. Great way to get in touch with our support team. There's a really, really smart group of guys and girls that can answer all sorts of questions. So, all right, next question. What is the difference between the new SLXD and QLXD and ULXD systems?
That's another great question. In the presentation, you might remember one of the first questions you need to ask yourself is, how many wireless systems am I looking to operate, campus-wide or in a room or whatever? So one of the biggest differences is how many channels you can get up and running on the air. ULXD offers Dante, where QLXD and SLXD does not. And so that's kind of the major differences there. There's some other minor ones, but really in a nutshell, that's kind of the basic differences.
Great. Any plans for a KSM9 handheld option?
I don't know that there's any plans. However, remember that these do have interchangeable capsules. So if you wanted to buy, a transmitter with an SM58 capsule on it, you can always remove the capsule and buy a KSM9 capsule and put it on.
Fantastic.
Hey, Cheryl.
Yes.
I wanted to was just double checking the person that asked the question in regard to the RF sensitivity question. The BER is a bit error rate, and if you're trying to make a comparison of what that means, that same specification for SLXD is actually shared with the bigger brother, if you will, the QLXD. It's actually the same rating. So if you talk about the sensitivity of the receiver in being able to receive that SLXD transmitter receiver, we're basically operating at the same quality or expectation, shall we say, of even the QLXD receiver at a higher price point.
Great. Thanks for the update, Michael. Okay, next question. I use 24 SLX series with headsets. They are 30 milliwatt. So why is SLXD 10 or 1 milliwatt?
That's a great. Go ahead, Michael.
So a part of the difference when you look at an analog transmission scheme to a digital transmission scheme, your analog transmission scheme, because it's truly linear audio, physically takes more milliwatts of power to transmit through the air versus a much more efficient digital signal that we can fit into a smaller footprint, which allows us to have the same, if you will, the same effective radiating power at a lower milliwatt. So that's why if you actually go back and look at SLX, ULX, even UHFR, and you look at those milliwatt outputs versus everything that has replaced all of those product lines with digital product, you'll notice that all of the milliwatts are actually at a lower power. And what this serves is the ability to give you more channels of wireless online. So that's part of the beauty of it. Don't let it throw you off that, oh my gosh, I'm not at 30 milliwatts, I'm not going to be able to throw as far. As Criss stated, you're still throwing at that same spec distance of 330 feet, but you're actually doing it way more efficiently, which means we can get way more channels of digital RF online over analog.
And right there is the definition of spectral efficiency. For sure. All right, great. Next question. How does the 20 hertz low-end frequency response of SLXD compare with that of the BLX and SLX analog?
It might be similar to GLXD. It's a different, without going totally off the deep end here, it's a different codec than GLXD. But according to SLX or analog, the old analog way, it's very hard to reproduce those low frequencies in a true to tone nature. In other words, they wound up sounding not quite right, or kind of colored, or maybe they just drop off altogether, and you don't have as punchy of a sound on the low end. So by getting away from analog, and now we're transmitting a digital audio stream, it is much more true to the actual output of whatever instruments you're plugging in. So the short answer to the question is it does really well.
Yeah. For folks that are on that are attending today, which, by the way, thank you for your time. If you're new to digital wireless, and you've traditionally been in analog, and you're just kind of to that point where, hey, we're ready to make a change, we're ready to step up to the new digital world. One thing to remember is that in that analog world, the question was asked about companding. The way analog versus digital works are really not from a transmission scheme. You're still using the UHF spectrum, but that's kind of almost the only thing that you share in common. The way that they collect the audio, the way they transmit the audio, the way they receive and digest the information and output it are really two different schemes. And so when you look at, say, BLX, your audio frequency response is 50 to 15K. And a lot of that has to do with it is a true analog companding system. So we can only put so much audio frequency in because of the nature of analog RF transmission schemes. There's just certain frequencies that are not, you are almost limited by that. And because you're in a digital world, and for folks that think that codeccing is bad, everything that we do in the digital realm has to be codeced, whether that's video today, whether that's audio. But the codecs have gotten extremely better than what we're familiar with from the very first get-go of codecs. So because we're able to codec and sample that audio on our digital platform, we're able to give you a wider, much more flatter frequency response from digital transmission schemes than you're traditionally used to getting from an analog scheme.
Real quick, Michael, you used a lot of codecs. Just for those on the call that are wondering, a codec is short for coding or code, and encoding and decoding, meaning we wrap it up, make it digital. That's the coding process. And then the other side on the receiver decodes it. So, sorry, quick terminology there.
Nope, good point.
Awesome. All right, next question. Is this line compatible with frequency coordination in Wireless Workbench?
So, yeah, here's the long and short of that. You can coordinate SLX-D systems in Wireless Workbench. There's a profile for it, but currently it does not. You can't connect online and deploy those frequencies live to SLX-D.
Okay. And the next question is linked. If SLX-D works with your Shure update utility, why not make it compatible with Wireless Workbench?
Point well taken.
It sounds like somebody might want that.
It is a question we get a lot, and our product team is aware of it. All right, next question. Let's see.
I'm sorry, Cheryl. I just wanted to kind of chime in real quick. Remember that we wanted to give you as many tools on board SLX-D to make it simple and easy to use. So I'm not arguing against having it in Wireless Workbench. It's quite the opposite. We tried to build some of the tools of Wireless Workbench right into SLX-D so that you wouldn't have to necessarily be burdened with breaking out a computer and downloading Wireless Workbench if you're, just a weekend person working at church, volunteering at a church or something. So kind of walking the fine line there, I guess.
For sure. All right. Is an existing MXC WNCS charging station a compatible charging station with the SLX-D batteries?
No. MX, that was MXCW, right? The Microflex Wireless Complete?
Yep.
Okay. No, that is a separate proprietary battery, and that is actually a 3-cell battery because of what it powers. So it's a completely different form factor than what the SB903 is. So the SB903 is compatible specifically with the SBC 203 or that SB10 903.
Great. Will there be more? I'm going to actually answer this next one. Will there be more transmitter options in the future, such as gooseneck, base, or boundary? I have to give you the standard PR answer to that one. We don't really talk about what is on our product roadmap, but we are always working behind the scenes to expand and improve our product lines. So I can't say whether or not that will happen, but, you know, we hear you and we'll let the product teams know. Here's a good question. When will SLX-D start shipping?
Soon. Criss, do you know of do we have the latest, greatest update on it?
I don't, but Moo does.
Yeah, actually, SLXD already shipped on August 3rd. So that's probably a little more than 1 month ago.
Check with your local Shure dealer or sales rep, and they can help you out if you aren't finding them. All right, next question. We kind of touched on this, but I'll just reiterate it. Are the handheld transmitter capsule threads the same as SLX, QLXD, ULXD, etc.?
Yes.
All of our transmitters that have interchangeable caps, I can take this capsule off and put it on an Axion or ULXD or anything else. Yep.
Exactly. They are all compatible. All right. Let's see. We've got a ton of questions, so we're probably not going to get through all of them because they just keep streaming in. But I'm going to pick a few more. And then if we didn't get to your question and it's really burning a hole in your brain, please just send a message to our support team at shure.com/contact. All right. Let's see. Does the panel lockout include the power button?
Yes, I believe that does. Correct, Mo?
Yes, so you can have two options. You can lock menu only or menu and the power. So in the menu, you can choose.
Okay. What is the difference in battery life between 1 milliwatt and 10 milliwatt settings?
That's about around 30 to 40 minutes, but it depends on environment you're using. So yeah, it's a round number.
Great.
Yeah, you have to remember when you're thinking about battery usage, you need to think about the source coming in as well. If I'm a soft talker and I talk, that actually doesn't require as much battery power as if I'm really singing loud into the microphone. So all of those times are rough.
Okay. Can I combine 2 units of SLX-D with my 4 units of SLX analog in one rack? And yes, I do have a UA221.
Sweet.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely you can. The only thing you have to be careful about is your SLX analog is more of a bandwidth hog. It needs more spectrum to operate in, which may or may not hurt your ability to operate anything else, whether it's SLXD or QLX or anything else. That's the only disclaimer there.
All right. Can we sync different Shure series handheld or body packs with the SLX-D receiver?
No. I believe SLX is its own modulation scheme and is not compatible with QLXD or ULXD.
Okay. And I think I'm just seeing if there's anything. There's a lot of questions, so I'm just trying to pick ones that'll be the clearest. Next one, what is the latency of SLX-D?
I believe it's 3.2 milliseconds, Moo.
Correct.
Okay. Will SLX-D be supported in the Channels app?
No.
All right.
Not currently. Yeah.
All right. And I think that's unfortunately most of the questions we have time for. And once again, many apologies to those of you that we didn't get to your questions. Please feel free to reach out to us at shure.com/contact. You can also email support@shure.com, or if you're in the US, you can call 1-800. Oh goodness, I forgot the number. It's at shure.com/contact if you want to find the phone number. Alrighty. We want to thank you all so much for joining us today. We hope you learned a little something about SLX-D. I know I certainly did. Thanks to Criss and Michael. And we hope to see you on the next one. Have a great day, everybody.